Right, okay, here we are with Richard. He runs a group on Facebook. I'll let him tell you all about it.
I'm on camera.
You
Hello.
are. Hello, Richard. How you doing?
Fantastic. I'm good, thank you.
That's really cool.
Right, okay, so I've been asked to do a little bit of a video, introducing myself, talk a little bit about the group, how it was started, why we started it, and the general ethos about the group, the way we like it to run, and the reason for some of the rules that we have in place. Gosh, before COVID, I'd been looking at the possibility of creating a camper van purely for the fact that my son lives up in Fleetwood. I live in Telford, and it was getting expensive every other weekend, driving all the way up there, staying in a hotel, all the stuff we did at the weekend, and then coming home again. Plus, I'd toyed with the idea, I'd had a caravan many years ago, and I liked the idea of being able to just drive a little house around and have some fun. So I got this van, I say about 3 years ago. It did need some work. It was an old minibus, had all the seats in it, had all the floor and everything in it. It was in a bit of a sorry state. Whoever had it before, it was a community minibus, and the stickers that they had on it, when they'd had it resprayed, instead of taking the stickers off, they'd resprayed with the stickers on, so they'd actually masked around the stickers. So of course, when I took the stickers off, it left all indentations in the paintwork. But I wasn't too fussed about how it looked. At the end of the day, it was an old van, and it meant that I could take it anywhere, and I wasn't too precious about it getting scratched or bumped or dented or damaged or anything like that. What was more important to me was the inside of it. So I run my own business. I renovate houses and do all sorts of home and garden maintenance. And over the years, I've collected bits and pieces, timber, leftover bits of wood, leftover laminate floor, kitchen worktops, kitchen cupboards, all sorts of bits and pieces, and they've all been sat there ready to use on other jobs. So I was quite lucky in the fact that I had a load of surplus stuff lying around that I could use to make the camper van out of, and indeed I did. And I'll show you first of all.
Yeah, give us a tour.
A bit about where it all started. So I took all the seats out, and it had this flooring in it with grooves that the seats were bolted into, and the thickness of the flooring was another good inch or so, and I didn't really want that in. So we got all that out, stripped it down to the bare metal floor. There was some holes in it, there was some rust, so I filled the holes, painted the rust, and then I just put this down, 18-inch, just completely all the way through, all the way to the front. I think it took 3, and I had to cut them exact to fit all around these gaps and edges and all sorts of bits and pieces. So that was a little bit fiddly, but I do that kind of thing for a living anyway, so it wasn't too bad. So the first thing to do was to build the bed, the bench and the storage area. Now, as you can see, I always carry my tools and bits and pieces with me to meets, so that if anybody wants me to fix some electrics or help them with something, I've always got those bits and pieces with me. But all this timber, all this structural timber, this is all stuff that I had left over from jobs. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to have a garage area. I wanted to have a single fixed bed. It's slightly bigger than a single fixed bed. At a push, the girlfriend and I could sleep in it. It would be a bit of a squash, but we have done in the past when we haven't been bothered to make up the bed. And then the idea being, and I'll show you in a minute, there's a bench seat that lifts up and turns that into a really good sized double bed. The width of the van at the point that I built it was, obviously if I'd built the bed lower, I wouldn't have had all this storage space. So I built the bed a bit higher, but I still wanted to make sure that even with the carpet and everything else, I'm 5'10", and it's about 5'10 and a half. So there's just enough room for me to, very rarely do I sleep completely straight like that, so it's never going to be an issue. So we built the bed at the height that was enough for me. She's 5'6", so there was never going to be an issue there. Sleeping sideways obviously then gives you more of the length of the van.
Yeah.
So built all of this, structural timbers here. I put some timbers above the wheel arches. Again, they've got timbers at either side to give it strength. It's screwed to the sides.
Yeah, I see where you put your diesel heater as well.
Yeah, the diesel heater's underneath the bench seat at the front. We'll go to that in a from the bedside, it's got like a curve here.
Yeah.
Whether that's obvious. So up until where it's square either side, there was all this space. So I thought I'm going to maximise it. So it's given us this little bit of space here to store the windbreak.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of other bits and pieces. This is my 12-volt charger for my Ryobi tools. So even on the move, I can still charge the batteries. And then I've put USB chargers here and here. And of course, this shelf then allows me at night to put the mobile phones on and have them on charge and everything, so it's perfect.
Yeah.
And then the diesel heater control is right by the bed here, so in the morning, if it's cold, I don't even have to get out of bed. We can literally turn the
Switch
diesel heater on and be nice and warm, and in 2 minutes time the van's toasty. Get out of bed and start doing bits and pieces. I've put that there, that's magnetic.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing some bits and pieces, I can put my spanners on there and other bits and pieces while I'm working.
That's a good idea.
And this is all carpeted, so this is ply, and then I've carpeted around the edges, as you can see.
Yeah.
But there are bits, like, because it's white, to make it look right, I just got some black spray paint and literally just sprayed it so that it hides, it doesn't make it look too obvious.
Fits in.
But to get to the light, I built this little cupboard, so I can still change the bulbs.
Not a lot of people think of that. You'd be surprised how many people forget to do that.
Yeah, so I just thought a couple of hinges, and I can still get to the bulbs and reversing camera things in there. And you know, it just makes things a little bit easier. And then originally these were just painted white, but I just carpeted over them, little handles on them to open them. So that's great. The storage is fantastic.
Yeah, it makes it look nice and neat.
I have this switch here. So if we want some light in the morning to do stuff, but we don't want it really bright, flick that switch and we've got these little green accent lights.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a light here, you can see the little Day of the Dead skull, his eyes are lit up. So that's just enough light first thing in the morning without it being in your face.
Yeah. No shock to the system, right?
Well, exactly. If we're feeling a little bit romantic,
Who never feels a bit romantic?
then...
Oh, see now, look at this. Look at that there. Does it do the job? Because I'll get one if it does.
It's not guaranteed. And then we have this other light that plugs in here, which is a disco light.
Oh, okay.
So at night time,
Party time.
and we do have a remote, so we can change it and have it fading and doing other bits and pieces. But just a little bit of fun. I've took the other one out at the moment because I was fitting this. I've not quite finished it, but there's an LED strip and a diffuser.
Yeah.
So it looks like I've got porthole windows, but at the moment I've just covered them over with these sayings and stuff, because to be fair, I don't really use the windows, so I've not been that bothered. Oh, and I got some of that privacy glass plastic, and I put it on the inside of the windows before I did it, just to hide stuff so that it's not as obvious what's going on.
Just have a look at your...
Yeah, that's our sticker. Yeah, that's one of the
stickers.
Facebook
group there, if you want to go and have a look.
Yeah, that's us. And then let's have a little look at the living area. So the green lights are on at the moment. I've also got a switch here, and this turns on the 4 lights in the middle, so that. But I had it so that the actual main light's not above the bed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so don't
So we just brought it this way a little bit. Now, what I was saying about the bed is, at the moment it's quite a decent sized single bed.
Yeah.
But at night, if we want to make it into a double, all we do, take these cushions off, take this out of the way, take this out of the way, and before I make the bed up, I'll just show you this. So this was from B&Q. This is actually a door front off some cube stories that B&Q sell, and it almost matched the green in the van. So I bought one of the doors, I didn't buy the cupboard, and I bought one of their little lever. So that's at night when the beds are double, there's another shelf there for someone to put the phone on, and there's the charging points there. We've got another charging point there, and that's a 12-volt supply. That's for the compressor fridge. So then, yeah, let me show you under here, just before we carry on.
Oh, I see.
So we've got the diesel heater and the diesel tank, and then over this side, this is those gas cartridge oven.
Oh, right, okay.
So you put a gas cartridge in that side,
So it's just your standard butane.
Yeah,
that you
and
use in
then
the
and then
little
you can grill, oven. It's got a timer and everything on it. You get about 2 hours out of one of those little canisters.
That's quite good.
And I've done pizzas in it. I've done chicken. We've even done a Sunday roast in it.
How do you vent it? Because I know that butane in the
So I
van.
have. We don't use it. We don't tend to use it in the winter when it's cold. But all through the summer, we just literally have it outside on a table.
That's good. Good
Really
idea.
good. So there's my leisure batteries. 3 leisure batteries, all linked up together with a split charge relay. That was a £5, a very cheap solar controller, but it absolutely does the job. And there's 2 100-watt solar panels on the roof, topping those batteries up.
That's good.
So yeah, so going back to the bed, this lifts up. And these 2 legs fit under these spaces here, like that. It's been strengthened so that there's no bend, and then this pulls over, and then the smaller of the 2 cushions
Goes at the other end.
back, and we've got a double sheet on, and then that becomes a really good big double bed.
That's
and the
good.
little baby, we have a thing that sits on here, and all blankets and stuff, and he sleeps here at night, and if she needs to lean over and just grab him, she can, and
sort
then
him
put
out.
him back in bed and everything. So that works out really well. If I go and see my son, it's left as a single bed, and you can see this is a good width. He sleeps on there
Sleeps on
on
that.
the main cushion.
That's good. So this is what I love about building your own van, is because you can design it for your own specific needs.
Absolutely.
I mean, the world's your oyster when it comes to designing it, and as long as it fits you.
Yeah. So let's just put this back together again.
It's quite quick to do as well. So
Yeah, I'll leave that oven out for now because we might use it later.
yeah, I'd like to see you got your priorities there with the bar, mate.
Yeah, well, I used to have optics here, but then we put the telly in, so I've not bothered with that. So we have this now. It's supposed to store wine glasses there, but if they fall out, I need to put like a little toggle or something to hold them in.
It's
But
the
I'll
angle,
get
innit,
round
I
to
think.
it.
Yeah.
I'm not that bothered,
Yeah.
I'll get round to it. So yeah, that's our booze stuff. Compressor fridge.
Yeah, I love the Aptical.
I really don't think anything else is worth having. I did try a cooler box for about 6 months. I could only run it while I was driving.
Yeah.
It flattened the batteries too quickly. It did get cold, but what I used to do is I used to buy a bag of ice from Aldi or Lidl for £1,
And
put
put
a
it
bag of
in.
ice in. That would keep things cool, and if you were having a gin and tonic or a whiskey or anything, you had ice to put
Ice
in
on
it,
top.
so there was a benefit. But these Alpicool things are fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
I bought a big one because I wanted to be able to stand bottles up. I mean, obviously wine and all sorts of bits and pieces. I have bought a smaller one to use as a freezer.
Well, we've got a little 20-litre one in ours
Right.
at the minute until we get the bigger van.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about these top-loading compressor fridges is they don't lose the cold when you open the door.
No.
Because cold goes down,
right.
not up.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyone that's got a fridge that opens with a door like that, all the cold just seeps out and it's got to do its job again. But these,
Exactly.
I love this. I mean, the Aptical products, I can't.
And yes, so the compressor basically, when you plug it in first, the compressor very quickly takes it down to temperature. I've got this set at 4 degrees, and then because it's so well insulated, it kicks in maybe every couple of hours because it's gone up a couple of degrees.
Yeah.
It keeps everything nice and cold.
Yeah.
Now people say, oh, but I bet the compressor's really loud at
No.
night. It's not, and I need it relatively quiet to sleep.
Yeah.
But that does not wake me up at all, and it doesn't keep me awake.
No.
So they are brilliant. I absolutely recommend a compressor style fridge. I think Alpicool are very good. I think they're good value for money. Yeah, that was a bit expensive, probably about £350, but it's the best £350 quid I've ever spent. And if you buy it off Amazon or eBay through Barclays, you can pay over 3 months.
Yeah.
Three instalments, no, like pence in terms of interest.
Yeah, it's
Just
Bluetooth
worth
as well,
doing
isn't it?
it.
You get the app on your phone and you.
Something like that. It's brilliant.
No, I'm on about getting the app on your phone for your fridge, Bluetooth. You're on Bluetooth.
Oh, it is Bluetooth. I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
bothered, to be honest with you. It's just a
No, I don't with my fridge, but I'm just letting people know that it's there if they need it.
Yeah, you can do.
But-
It comes with an app and everything.
Yeah.
So originally it didn't have top cupboards in, so I just built it up the sides, and actually it used to have a single front seat and a single front seat here, and I put these you can see here, just behind the door, behind the seat, it's got this piece of wood here.
Yeah.
And I had one here as well, and you used to just walk through between the
A
seats.
separate door, yeah.
Yeah, but now we've got the little baby. I've had to put the double seats back in because, of course, there's nowhere for his chair to go. So I've took that all out for now. But the idea is at night, this was so this is a curtain pole from B&M. That's from B&M. That just holds the curtain back. And this curtain, you can see it's quite small and it's quite short. I got this from Dunelm. The sample curtains that they had at the end of every row, when they change their range, these all go in a bucket or like a wire basket, almost like a cheap jumbly sale kind of stuff, and you can buy them for about £3.
Yeah.
So I got this grey to match, and at night we hide it behind the television. That pulls out all the way. I'll take it off the hook and bring it all the way, and then I've got a magnet, magnetises to the door, and it keeps the whole back of the van really nice and dark and nice and cosy. So I don't bother putting covers on the windscreens. We don't use this area when we're living in the van. We just use this for driving and getting about. So that's that. Top cupboards. So I put these in afterwards, and literally all they are is a piece of 1x1 there, and a piece of 1x1 there, a piece of plywood. Cut to whatever depth I wanted, and another piece of plywood, and literally all I did was put a timber up, another piece of 1x1 there, screwed this to it, put that piece of 1x1 in there, screwed the ply to it, and then screwed it to there. It was a dead simple job. And what you do is you do that first, then you decide where you want your cupboard holes to be, you drill a hole, cut the aperture to the size that you want. And this is some leftover plywood that I had, and this material was left over from making the seats, and I had enough. So literally all I did was got some pieces of plywood, stretched the material round the plywood, 2 little hinges. You can see I've used some green masking gaffer tape to tape it up at the back, and just put handles on them, and they've been great. More than, and it cost me nothing because it was all materials that I had left.
Yeah.
So I did that side first, and I thought, you know what, while I'm at it, I'll
do
this side as
see the
well.
other side.
Yeah. So I thought, while I'm at it, I'll do this side as well, and it's exactly the same. But I mean, they do tend to get stuff shoved in. I mean, they do get shoved. And because it was quite dark with this material, I've just added some signs and slogans and logos and bits and pieces just to brighten it up. Just to give it a little bit of a happy feel to it.
Yeah, nice homely feel.
I've had some bits and pieces over here. They need to go back up, but I've just been doing a few bits, changing round.
Yeah, you're always working on them. They're never complete.
No. And then the actual over the van, it had this storage shelf.
Yeah.
So again, I cut some timber out to fit around here. I have to leave that open because that arm there has to go in. So I had to leave that open. And again, I've just built some cupboards, and they have all sorts of rubbish in them. Yeah. So it's just all about storage, really. Now this television, so this is an LG. Now LG, they do a 28, a 32, a 24 and a 22-inch version of this television. It's the television, instead of having a straightforward lead into the back of the television, it comes with a power brick, and it's a 19-volt power brick.
You got a step up.
So all you do is you buy, it's a laptop charger.
Oh, right, okay, done it that way.
And it plugs, well I've not even hardwired it, literally all I've done is that.
Yeah.
But it has a USB on it. So we use a Fire Stick.
Yeah.
So the Fire Stick plugs into this to get its USB power. The television itself is plugged into that laptop because it comes with lots of little ends, so you can do try all sorts of different ones until it fits. So the Fire Stick's permanently in the back of the television. This is a 28. It also has a USB slot on the side of it, so I have a hard drive full of films and series and all sorts of bits and pieces. So if there's nothing on Netflix, or we're in an area where the signal's rubbish, we'll plug the hard drive in, and then we can watch films through the hard drive and still be entertained in the evening. Not that we sit and watch a lot of television, but it's there if we want
If
to.
you need it.
Or if I'm going up and seeing my lad in the middle of winter, it's horrible, it's cold, it's wet, we don't really want to do anything. We'll stick the telly on and watch a film or put some music on or something. And I don't know whether you knew this, but Fire Sticks have a Bluetooth option in them. So you can Bluetooth from a Fire Stick to a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the sound out the television is great, but actually the sound out of this Sony speaker is actually really good. So what we do is we Bluetooth from the Fire Stick to the speaker, and then we've got independent control of the volume, and we just get a much fuller sound.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's the van. In terms of what I've spent, I say all of the timber for the structure and everything, all that was free. This worktop was free. This bottom cupboard was free. This is a Howden's glossy work cupboard. Top one's used as a cutlery drawer, and the bottom one's used for storing all sorts of bits and pieces, mugs and cups and bits and bobs.
Yep.
That was free. That was free. The floor was free. Paid for the carpet, paid for the material. And I paid for the plywood that I made the top cupboards with. The board underneath the floor, the stuff that I showed you at the back, that was free, left over from jobs. All the structural timber was free. The board that I made, this here, the lifty up bits, I bought that because I didn't have enough of that left. So that's why this van was so incredibly cheap to make. I had everything. I'd bought. I knew I was making a van sometime in the future, so I'd kept things aside to make use of.
Yeah.
So building a van for under £2,500, absolutely. I mean, the van and the build was under £2,500. I know vans are a bit more expensive nowadays, but you can still find these vans, LDV Maxus vans, on Facebook and other places. Sometimes they can be £2,000 or £3,000, but you do find bargains out there. And it is very possible to pick one of these up with an MOT for about 1,500, 1,700
yeah, that's
quid.
good.
Maybe a little bit tatty, might just need a rattle can just to tidy it up, and then just build inside it and just use all sorts of freebies, and it's great. I set the group up with Paul Collins. Paul Collins has just rejoined the group. He's been doing another venture. He bought a canal cruiser, and he's done that up in the same way he did his van. So he's been working on that. He's nearly finished that now, so he's back in the group again, and he bought, I think it was a Fiat Ducato, the small boxy square one, and he's turned that into a lovely camper. I think he's put pictures on just very recently. We were just chatting, and he said, wouldn't it be nice to be able to show other people how to build a van on a budget, not to the ridiculous amount that people seem to spend? And we set the group up. The name spoke for itself because that was basically what we built the van.
Keep on plugging the name, mate, otherwise people won't know.
Oh, sorry, UK camper vans built for under £2,500. I think you all know that because it's going to be on the Facebook page. But yeah, so we set it up, and initially 50 members, 70 members, and you're thinking to yourself, God, what have we got to do? So we started creating content. We started doing show-arounds. I've put together a video of when I bought the van and all the bits and pieces that I did, so I put that on there. We talked about electrics, we talked about all sorts of bits, and then and then COVID hit, and it went nuts, and we were like 200, 300, 400, 500 people joining every week, and we were thinking, crikey, we're gonna get too busy too quickly, so we had to get other people to help us on the admin team, and just to keep it nice. And I'd been a member of other groups, and I noticed that people would ask questions, and people that knew what they were talking about could be quite nasty in terms of comments. So someone might ask, not a stupid question, but a question they've never asked before, and a question they have absolutely no idea what the answer possibly could be. They'd ask this question, and people would jump on with quite sarcastic and sometimes quite mean comments. And I thought, I don't really think that's the way a Facebook page needs to be. So Paul and I decided very quickly, as we started to grow, that one of the main things about the group would be that no question is a silly question. Never ever feel afraid to ask a question, because quite clearly if you need to ask that question, you're looking for an answer, you're not looking for a sarcastic response. So I'm very hot on making sure that people feel comfortable. asking questions on the group. It doesn't matter what the question is, it doesn't matter how simple you might think it is. Ask that question, because if you don't know, there's no way you're going to learn until you get a decent answer.
Absolutely.
And quite often I'll try and jump in as quickly as I can to give an initial answer until other people also jump in and give you various different answers, and then hopefully with 5 or 6 different options you can choose which one works for you and happily carry on with what you're doing. The only thing I would say as far as building your camper goes is, if you're not 100% sure on gas or 240 volt electrics, try not to do it yourself, or find a way to live without it.
You don't want to die, people. No. You do not want to die.
I've no fixed gas in the van. I've no fixed water in the van. The only electrics I've got is 12 volt. I do have 240 volt hookup, but it's one of those portable leads that people use in tents. It comes in through the window, so it's never going to be seeing any metal. If the window was closed and it accidentally, it's between a rubber and it's between glass. So we're never going to get a shock. So there's no danger of the van ever becoming live using that because of the way that I use it. If I was trapping it in the door, that would be a different situation. And yes, I'd need to have it earthed and all sorts of bits and pieces. And that just literally just sits on the front seat. And then I have this lead here that I plug into it. So this lead is behind the seat. That plugs into the 3-way distribution box that goes with it, and then under here is a plug socket, and under there is a plug socket, and that isn't touched, and we plug into those plug sockets, and it's as simple as that. So as far as 240 volt goes, it's very safe. There's no danger of anything happening, and I haven't had to cut a hole in the side of my van to have
and put a plug on it.
Because again, every time you cut a hole in your van, there's dangers of rust and all sorts of bits and pieces, and I'm just not into cutting holes in my van. So that's the van.
We'll have a look around the outside of the van.
Yes, we'll talk about the outside a little bit. So, we're on there. Left the...
your end stop.
I've left that in the way. Won't do that again, will I? Right. So let's have a little talk about the outside. It's a mucky, well-used, I wouldn't say unloved, but relatively low-maintained van. In terms of rust, we've got rust going on here, and every now and then I'll just paint a rust inhibitor on it. Basically, the doors drop slightly, so it's catching there. But it's one of the great things about these vans. They're not perfect. This here is just to catch the rain, so that it doesn't come in anyway, but it did at one stage until I fixed it, so that's still on there. That was just to divert the rain away from the gap across the top of the door. I've got these as well. When you're getting in and out of the van, if it's raining, it drips down here and it drips on your head. So I put these on, again, it diverts and runs down the front, so when you open the door, it's not peeing all over your head. I've got the same one on the other side as well. You can buy those off eBay.
Rubber edging, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's got a channel.
Yeah.
So, and it's self-adhesive. So you do it on a nice day. Make sure you clean the van before you do it, and then just stick it on, and it diverts the rain. These are the Alco deflectors. So you wind your window down, shove them on, they stick and clip. And then what that means is at the moment I can get my hand in there. So we've got the window slightly down on both sides. So at night, there's air circulation, and it's meant I haven't had to put a vent on the roof, because again I didn't want to cut a hole in the roof, and the roof's not flat, it's grooved like that, and I just thought that would have been a nightmare to mess about with. So again, I haven't bothered with that. It's the same colour as it was when I first got it. You can see just about where I talked about earlier, they'd painted around the stickers, so I've kind of hidden that by sticking that across. It takes you hopefully takes your eye off the ridges and stuff. Various different stickers, none of them really match with anything. It's just a case of sticking stickers on the van to brighten it up a little bit. This did used to look quite nice. I took them off individually and painted them. It's all starting to peel off now. Various different stickers. These are some stickers that Roger on the group made for me, so I've got a few of those still. Got a tow bar. The electrics aren't on the tow bar at the moment. I've never actually used it to tow, but it's handy to have, and obviously if I was towing someone out of the mud or whatever, it's great to have something like this. But I have a bike rack, and the bike, it slots on there, sits up here. It has 2 hooks that you hook on the doors, and it holds about 3 or 4 bikes, so that's quite handy. and that's why I've got the. Oh, and I put a private reg on.
Yeah,
So it's
I
I
see
think
that.
it's a 55 van. So I've got a 54 plate Maxus sticker. This here, this is the logo of a Maxus group. So if you've got a Maxus,
Right, okay.
you can join their group, and that's their logo. So he's on there, and he's on the doors as well. These wheels are original Maxus wheels. They're quite hard to come by, but you can find them. You'll only ever find them second hand. But it's just quite nice to have all alloys instead of steels, and it's the same tyres, so you're not suddenly putting alloys on, and therefore the cost of your tyres is expensive.
Yeah.
The roof rack, I think I got that from a Breakers. He had 2 of them, so I bought 2. I've actually got under the bar, which isn't being used at the moment, but they were perfect to fit the solar
panel on.
because they're flat, they're not rounded. So I've put the solar panels on, and then I've run the wires again. Instead of having to drill a hole in the roof, I've run the wires
Down inside the door.
back down the back there, and then they come down here and in through there.
Yeah.
So that's the cables from the solar panels down to the battery. So I've not had to drill holes in the roof because I
van,
didn't want holes in my van. Some little crazy lights on the top that are on a timer, so they turn on and off. And then I painted the door cards, so these were grey. I haven't done it grey, but these were grey, and I wanted them black because I thought the black looked nicer. So the door panels have all been sprayed. This has all been sprayed to match. And I sprayed the sun visors because they were they were grey, and I recovered the headlining.
Yeah.
So I took all this down. This was a horrible grey with stains on it and stuff. So I took it all down, glued all the carpet to it, put it all back up again, and it looked brand new. And then of course I've got the LED lights that have changed in the courtesy light. We've got a green light along the bottom of the front seat, so that lights all the footwell up. This is an original LDV Maxus bull bar with some bright nighttime driving lights on, and then the engine is nice and clean and sparkly and
What
well
size?
looked after and well maintained.
What size engine is it?
It's a 2.5 litre. What's the name? Vito Motori. So it's the same engine as the London Taxi and what's the other one? London Taxi and Chrysler Voyager. So it's a fantastic engine. You can see there's not a lot going on in here, so there's not a lot to go wrong. And if anything does go wrong, you can get to it.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant engine. As long as it's looked after and it's serviced, these engines are good for a long time. I mean, they wouldn't put them in taxis if they were no good. So it's a really good engine, well looked after. Just a little note on lighting and LEDs and stuff like that. So on this van, there's a switch here. So when the door closes, it pushes that switch and breaks contact.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I thought I'd do is, it did have a courtesy light down here, but it had been taken off. So what I've done is I've got a green, about so long. You can buy them on Amazon in different colours. It's like a strip, but it's not like a 5 metre one. You can buy them in a certain length. And I've run it underneath this lip.
Yeah.
And I've taken a live feed, which was up here, brought the live feed all the way down to this switch. I've taken the negative feed off the back of this, because this breaks the negative as opposed to breaks the positive. So I've taken the negative feed off this and run the wire to here. So the idea is, when you shut the door, that breaks contact and turns the lights off.
Yeah.
But if I want to leave the door open in the night time and I don't want that light on permanently, I can turn it off with a switch. So it's dead
break the
simple.
contact.
It's just knowing how to do it. If anyone's interested in knowing how to do that to their van, or how to change the colours of your lights in your courtesy light, or putting little accent lights on along the floor in your van, I can draw you diagrams. I can show you how to wire these things up. it's not very exciting, but it just adds a little personal touch to your van. And whilst mine is a green theme with green lights, you might have a red theme or a blue theme or a yellow theme or a pink theme or whatever. And all these colours are available, and it's just things that you can add afterwards.
Yeah,
just
little personal touches.
I think it's quite a nice little thing to do. So that's a little bit about the van, a little bit about how the group was created, why it was created. Obviously, we're having meets. We did meets last year. Some were well attended, some not so. Obviously, I love meets. I love meeting people. I love seeing other people's vans. I love all the people that I get to meet. I've made some great friendships out of events and meets and stuff like that. And if you can just see sort of the number of vans that we've got to this one. So, I mean, this is very unusual, this one, in that everybody that's come to this meet has never been to a meet of our group before. So there's no members that have been before. This is all brand new people. This is fantastic. And we've got vans from the brown van at the end all the way along here. There's a lady and gentleman staying in their car at the moment because they've got the van, but they haven't even been able to start yet, but they wanted to come down and just see what's going on. So they're sleeping in their in their car. This lady's got a little Doblo that she's sleeping in. That's a fantastic little camper. We've got a van here, there's a van behind us here. And let's show you our new party tent, because this is something that I invested in over Christmas, because I knew we were going to have a lot of events and hopefully more people would be turning up. Now, I did originally buy a 3 metre by 3 metre one, which has been great, but I don't think it's going to be big enough now. So here's our big party tent. So from the outside you can see there's plenty of room. It's a good big tent. And I say I have got another 3 metre by 3 metre one, which we can also bring if it's going to be a really big event.
Yeah.
But with the inside, that's a posh chair. I'm going to get some of them. And then inside, so we've got all our tables laid up with a brew station, and we've got hot plates. There's a little heater for later. Got our music. Now we've got little lights and stuff. It's a great space. And with the zips pulled down, the lights on in here tonight, heater on, music, drinks. It's going to be really, really nice, like a proper little event shelter now. I'm really, really happy with this.
Brilliant.
Everyone helped me put it up. It didn't take us too long. I don't think it'll take too long to put it down, but it's really well made. And this is all Velcro, so it just makes it really easy to put up. So if you think you're coming to events, everybody's lovely. We don't have horrible people turning up to events. Everyone's really down to earth. There's no snobbery. There's no my van's better than your van. There's none of that. I spent £5,000 on the tiles in my van above the kit. It's just none of that rubbish. Everyone is just really happy, really interested in other people's vans. No one's showing off. And it's just a fantastic community, and I hope that people that come to one meet come to subsequent meets because they enjoy themselves and they love the whole ethos of the whole thing. So I hope that's not been too long a video, but thanks for watching.
Yep. Cheers, Richard.